Ravi was not the kind of man who liked big crowds. He worked quietly as a technician on Orion Station, a giant orbital base where humans and aliens met to exchange ideas, trade technology, and learn from each other. Most of his work was simple maintenance, fixing broken circuits, adjusting life support valves, and checking energy lines. Others saw the job as boring, but for Ravi it was peaceful. He liked machines. Machines did not argue, they did not gossip, and they always followed rules. Yet, in the long silent hours of night shift, machines could not keep him company. The station floated in endless space, surrounded by stars, and the halls felt too empty. That was when he first met Neera. It began with a soft voice on the comm system. "Human technician Ravi," the voice said. He looked up from the console. The voice was calm, melodic, unlike any human tone. "Yes. Who is this?" "I am Neera," the voice replied. "I am assigned to the diplomatic section. I was told you are often on night duty. I wish to ask about human music." Ravi blinked, surprised. Aliens rarely contacted low-level workers like him. Diplomats usually spoke with high officers or scientists. But this one, she had chosen him. "Music," Ravi repeated. "What do you want to know? What does it feel like?" Neera asked softly. "When humans sing, or when they listen, what do they feel?" It was such a strange question that Ravi laughed before he could stop himself. "That depends," he said. "Sometimes music makes us dance. Sometimes it makes us cry. It can remind us of old times, or give us hope. It's hard to explain with words." "I see," Neera said. Her voice carried curiosity, almost wonder. "My people do not use sound for feeling. We share emotions directly, through mind waves. But music, it seems like a mystery to me." That night they talked for hours. Ravi explained different instruments, from the beating of drums to the soft sound of flutes. He even hummed a small tune into the comm line. Neera listened without interruption, and when he finished, she whispered, "It is beautiful. Strange, but beautiful." The days passed, and their talks became a habit. Every night, after Ravi finished his checks, the comm light blinked, and Neera's voice followed. She never demanded, never ordered. She simply asked questions, sometimes about Earth, sometimes about daily life, sometimes about small things humans took for granted. "Why do humans laugh?" she asked one night. "Because something is funny," Ravi said. "But what is funny?" she pressed. He tried to explain jokes, wordplay, and silly mistakes. She struggled to understand, but when he told a story of a worker dropping a wrench into his own lunch tray, Neera suddenly gave a strange sound, something between a chime and a sigh. "Was that laughter?" Ravi asked, shocked. "I believe so," Neera said slowly. "It felt pleasant." Ravi started to look forward to these talks. He found himself finishing his work faster, just so he could return to the console and wait for her voice. He never saw her face. He only knew she was from a distant species, tall and graceful, with silver-like skin. But her voice was enough. Calm, patient, filled with curiosity. Other humans noticed his habit. "Talking with your alien friend again," one engineer teased. Ravi just smiled and said nothing. He could not explain why those talks mattered so much. One night, when the station lights dimmed to night mode, Neera asked him, "Do humans ever feel alone, even when others are near?" The question hit Ravi's heart. He looked around the silent control room. "Yes," he said softly. "We do. Sometimes you can be in a crowd, but still feel like no one truly sees you." There was a long silence on the other end. Then Neera replied, "I understand. My people are always connected to each other through mind waves. But sometimes, I feel apart." That is why I speak to you. With you, I do not feel apart. Ravi sat still, surprised. She trusted him enough to say something so personal. He had never expected that. From that night, their talks grew warmer. They were no longer only about facts or questions. Neera shared small details about her world, the shining oceans of crystal, the floating cities that moved with the wind. She described how her people learned to shape light into tools, and how silence was considered a form of respect. In return, Ravi spoke of earth, of mountains and rivers, of crowded markets full of noise and color, of rain tapping against windows. Sometimes he felt embarrassed, worried his words were clumsy, but Neera always listened with care. Your world is loud, she said one time. But perhaps that is its beauty. Ravi smiled, even though she could not see him. Maybe, he said. One evening, as he leaned back in his chair, listening to her calm voice describe the stars of her home, Ravi realized something strange. He was not just talking to an alien diplomat. He was talking to Neera, someone who listened, someone who asked, someone who understood. Machines could not give him that. Even most humans on the station did not give him that. As he logged off for the night, he found himself whispering, "Good night, Neera." The reply came gentle and warm, "Good night, human." And so, in the quiet of space, far from home, a connection began. Ravi's routine changed in quiet ways. He still fixed broken panels, checked the oxygen filters, and walked the long, echoing corridors of Orion Station. But every night, after his rounds were done, he would sit at the comm desk and wait. The green light on the console had become something he looked forward to more than food, more than sleep. And almost without fail, the light blinked, and Neera's voice followed. "Human technician," she greeted one night, her tone softer than before. "Just call me Ravi," he answered. "Technician sounds too formal." "Ravi," she repeated carefully, as though tasting the sound. "It feels shorter, warmer. I will use it." From then on, she never called him anything else. Their conversations grew deeper. At first, Neera had asked about simple things: music, laughter, food. But now she asked about life itself. "What is family to humans?" she wondered one evening. Ravi leaned back in his chair. "Family is the people who care for you, who raise you, who stand by you even when the world is against you." "Are they always blood relatives?" "No," Ravi said. "Sometimes friends can become family too." There was a pause. "Interesting," Neera murmured. "On my world, bonds are always formed by birth or by council decision. Choice is rare. But you humans, you choose." Another night, she asked, "Why do humans dream when they sleep?" Ravi laughed. "No one knows for sure. Maybe it's our mind telling stories. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But dreams help us feel alive." "I wish I could dream," she said quietly. "My kind do not." Ravi was silent, thinking. He felt a strange ache for her. She seemed so curious, so hungry for experiences humans took for granted. Other humans began to notice the bond. One engineer, Mira, caught him smiling after a comm session and raised an eyebrow. "You look like a boy talking to his secret friend," she teased. Ravi blushed. "It's not like that. We just talk." "Uh-huh," Mira said, clearly not convinced. "Just don't forget she's an alien diplomat. Careful, or you'll end up in interspecies gossip." Ravi shook his head, but her words stayed with him. He knew Neera wasn't just any alien. Yet somehow, he felt lighter after every talk with her, as if the station's silence didn't press on him so heavily anymore. One night, the conversation took a turn that surprised him. "Ravi," Neera asked gently, "what is humor to you?" He chuckled. "Humor is when something unexpected happens in a way that makes you laugh. Like a surprise, but not scary. Can you show me? She asked. So Ravi told her a story about a supply worker who once opened a crate thinking it was spare tools but found it filled with squeaky toy balls meant for Earth children. The poor worker slipped and fell as the toys bounced everywhere. Ravi laughed as he told it, remembering the scene. For a moment there was silence on her end. Then, suddenly, Neera made a sound, a soft chiming tone, musical but broken, like bells learning how to ring. What was that? Ravi asked. I. I think that was laughter, Neera said, surprised. It felt strange, but pleasant. Ravi smiled widely. Then you're learning fast. Slowly, Ravi began to feel something odd. He had never met Neera face to face, yet speaking with her felt easier than speaking with most humans on the station. With her, there was no need to pretend, no need to impress. He could simply be himself, and she listened with patience. Sometimes, when she was silent for a long time, he wondered if she was truly there. But then her voice would return, calm and steady, and the room would feel less empty. One evening, while describing the rivers of Earth, Ravi stopped and asked, "Why do you always talk to me, Neera? There are many humans here. Why not them?" Her reply came slowly. "Because you do not speak to me as if I am strange. Others hesitate, or they speak only of science and politics. But you speak to me as though I am simply Neera. I value that." Ravi felt a warmth rise in his chest. He wasn't sure what to say, so he only whispered, "I'm glad." That night, after logging off, Ravi lay awake in his cabin. He kept hearing her voice in his mind. It was not just curiosity anymore. There was a comfort in it, something that made him feel seen, even in the vastness of space. He wondered if she felt the same. The next shift, as stars glittered outside the station's wide glass dome, Neera asked him something new. "Ravi, do humans fear silence?" He thought for a moment. Sometimes. Too much silence can feel lonely. But sometimes silence is peace too. Then what is the silence, when I pause and you wait for me? Ravi swallowed. He had not realized it, but he did wait for her pauses, always patient, always listening. "I don't know," he said softly. Maybe it's a silence we share." On the other end, she gave that soft chiming laugh again. "A shared silence," she repeated. "I like that." And so their bond deepened not in loud words, but in the quiet moments between them. The station's artificial night had settled. Most crew members were asleep, leaving the corridors quiet except for the soft hum of machinery. Ravi sat at his usual console, waiting for the green calm light. He tried not to admit it to himself, but each night he looked forward to Neera's call more than anything else. When the light blinked, his lips curved into an unconscious smile. "Good evening, Ravi," came the familiar voice. "Evening, Neera," he replied. "How was your day?" She told him about a long meeting with human and alien diplomats, full of arguments about trade routes and cultural rules. Ravi chuckled. "That sounds exhausting." "It was," she agreed. "But now I speak with you, and it feels lighter." Ravi rubbed the back of his neck. "Well, I'm glad I can be a break from all the serious stuff." Their talk drifted, as it often did, through small details about food, about colors, about the way Earth's oceans roared during storms. Ravi even described how children on Earth liked to chase kites in the wind, their laughter rising high into the sky. Neera listened with quiet fascination. "Kites," she repeated. "Fragile things, yet they rise because of the very air that tries to push them down. Humans are strange. Always finding ways to turn struggle into beauty." Ravi laughed softly. "That's one way to put it." For a while, silence stretched between them. It was not uncomfortable. Ravi leaned back, watching stars through the viewing window. The silence felt like it belonged to both of them, just as it had in recent days. Then, without warning, Neera spoke again. Her voice was calm, but the words were unlike anything he expected. "Ravi," she said, "are you single, human?" Ravi froze. The words hit him like a sudden burst of static through his headset. His hands stiffened on the console. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. "What?" he finally managed. Neera repeated, slow and steady, "Are you single?" Ravi's heart pounded. He had no idea how to answer. This was no casual question. This was not about food or rivers or kites. This was personal, deeply personal. He tried to laugh it off. "That's a sudden question, Neera." "Yes," she admitted. "It is sudden. But I have wondered for some time." Ravi swallowed. His palms felt sweaty, though the room was cool. He had never imagined this would happen. Talking to her had felt safe, like exploring new lands through words. But this was something else. "Why do you want to know?" he asked carefully. There was a pause. He could almost picture her on the other side, sitting still, thinking. "Because in my culture," she said at last, "one does not ask this unless the connection matters. And with you, it does matter." Ravi's breath caught. He didn't know what to feel. Part of him was flattered, even touched. Another part was nervous. Could an alien and a human even think of such things? The silence stretched long. Too long. Ravi stared at the console, searching for the right words. His heart raced faster than during any crisis on the station. He thought back on all their talks, the way she listened with such care, the way she had tried to laugh, the way she admitted to feeling apart from her own people. She had trusted him with thoughts she had probably never shared with anyone else. And now, she was asking him something that could not be ignored. He cleared his throat. I don't know what to say." "Honesty is enough," Neera said gently. "Are you single, Ravi?" Finally, with a deep breath, he gave his answer. "Yes. I am single." On the other end, there was silence again, but a different kind of silence. Ravi could almost sense her reaction, like a soft warmth hidden in the quiet. Then Neera spoke, her voice lighter than before. "I see." Just those two words, but they carried weight. "What does that mean?" Ravi asked cautiously. "It means," Neera said slowly, "that I may ask other questions in the future. Questions I could not ask if your answer had been different." Ravi blinked, his heart beating faster. "Other questions?" "Yes," she replied, almost shy. "But not tonight. Tonight, it is enough to know this." Ravi leaned back, his chest tight with emotions he could not name. Part of him wanted to press her, to demand what she truly meant. But another part held back. He realized this moment was fragile, like the kites he had told her about, something that could only rise if treated carefully. So instead, he chuckled softly, though his voice shook. "You nearly gave me a heart attack, Neera." Her chiming laugh answered him, soft and musical. "That was not my intent." "Well, you succeeded anyway," he said, smiling despite himself. The rest of the conversation was lighter, almost playful, but Ravi's mind was no longer calm. Even as Neera spoke of her world's glowing seas, he found himself wondering, what did she truly feel? What would she ask next? When they finally ended the call, Ravi sat in the quiet control room long after. The stars outside the window burned bright, but his thoughts were brighter still, tangled and restless. He whispered into the silence, though she could no longer hear him. "What are you doing to me, Neera?" For the first time, Ravi realized this was not just an exchange of words between species. Something deeper was forming, and he was caught in it. And he did not know whether to be afraid, or hopeful. Ravi could not sleep that night. He turned again and again on his narrow bunk, staring at the ceiling of his cabin. Neera's question echoed in his head, "Are you single, human?" He had answered yes, but the weight of it still pressed on him. Why had she asked? What did she really mean? He remembered her tone, steady, calm, but also careful, as if every word had been chosen with intent. She was not one to ask without reason. For Neera, curiosity always carried depth. And this time, it felt personal, more personal than anything they had shared before. By morning, Ravi's mind was still restless. He went about his duties half-focused, checking oxygen valves and fixing a faulty energy circuit. Other workers noticed his distracted state. "Too much night talk with your alien friend," Meera teased as she passed him in the corridor. Ravi forced a smile, but her words only added to his unease. Was this becoming obvious? Did others already see something he himself did not fully understand? That night, when the calm light blinked, he hesitated before answering. His finger hovered over the switch. He almost considered ignoring it, but his heart pulled stronger than his doubts. At last, he pressed the button. "Good evening, Ravi," Neera's voice came, gentle as always. "Evening," he said quietly. There was a pause, as though she sensed his unease. "You are troubled." Ravi gave a small sigh. "You asked me something last night. And I can't stop thinking about it." "Ah," she murmured. "I see. I answered you," he continued, "but I don't understand why it mattered. Why ask me if I'm single? What does it mean to you?" Silence followed. It stretched long enough that Ravi feared she would end the call. But at last, Neera spoke, her voice softer than ever. "In my culture, Ravi, we do not ask such a question lightly. To ask means trust. It means we are willing to see another not just as voice, not just as duty, but as something more." Ravi's breath caught. "Something more?" "Yes," she said. "We live with constant connection. Our minds are linked in quiet streams of thought. Yet for me, even with all those connections, there is distance. I feel apart. But when I speak with you, it feels different. It feels as though I am truly seen." Her words struck him deeply. He had once told her that humans could feel alone even in a crowd. Now she admitted the same, though her people were never truly alone. "You asked because I mattered to you," Ravi whispered. "Yes," Neera replied. "And because I wondered if I could matter to you." Ravi sat frozen. He had never expected this. She was not speaking as a diplomat, nor as a student of human culture. She was speaking as Neera, the one who laughed awkwardly at his jokes, who asked about dreams, who listened to every word he shared. He closed his eyes, searching for courage. "You do matter," he said softly. There was silence again, but this time he felt warmth through it, as though her pause carried meaning. When she spoke again, her voice trembled faintly. "Then my question was not wasted." The following days carried a new weight. Their talks were still filled with stories about Earth's crowded markets, about her world's shining crystal fields, but beneath every word was a quiet undercurrent. Ravi felt it each time she spoke his name, each time she laughed her soft chiming laugh, each time she paused as though waiting for him to bridge the silence. And he realized something: she was no longer just a voice in the night. She was someone who reached past the distance of stars, someone who cared enough to risk asking him a question that bridged worlds. But Ravi also wrestled with doubt. Was it right? Could a human and alien truly share something beyond friendship? His thoughts churned each time he looked out at the black sea of stars. Humanity had come far, but this felt beyond maps and treaties. One evening, he gathered courage. "Neera," he said, "I want to ask you something in return." "I am listening," she replied. "What do you risk, asking me that question?" What would your people think? There was a soft sound, almost a sigh. They would not understand. To them, bonds must be chosen by councils, approved, aligned with logic. They would see this as reckless. But I do not care. With you, I feel something I have never felt before. I wished to know if the path was even possible. That is why I asked. Ravi's throat tightened. Reckless, yes, that was the word. And yet, wasn't that the human way too? To leap even when the ground was uncertain? He smiled faintly, though she could not see it. Then maybe we are both reckless. Her laugh chimed like distant bells. Perhaps that is why I enjoy speaking with you, Ravi. That night, as the stars burned outside Orion Station, Ravi felt a shift inside him. He was no longer just a lonely technician passing time with an alien diplomat. He was part of something rare, something fragile, but real. For the first time, he dared to believe that this bond was not just a passing thread of words, but the beginning of something greater. For the next few days, Ravi found himself restless. His thoughts circled endlessly around Neera's words, "I wondered if I could matter to you." The truth was, she did matter. More than he wanted to admit. But the idea of what that meant left him shaken. Could a human and alien truly form such a bond? What would people say if they found out? He avoided the comm station on the first night. He told himself he was too tired, but the real reason was fear. When the green light blinked, he turned away and walked down the corridor, his chest tight with guilt. The second night, he did the same. The comm light pulsed gently in the empty room, waiting, but he stayed in his cabin, staring at the ceiling. By the third night, the silence felt unbearable. He missed her voice. He missed the calm that came when she listened. But still, he hesitated. "Something's bothering you," Mira said, catching him in the mess hall. Ravi looked up from his untouched plate. "It's nothing. You've been walking around like a ghost," she pressed. "Don't tell me it's nothing. Is it about your alien friend?" Ravi frowned. "She's not just..." He stopped, realizing his own words. "We just talk." Mira gave him a long look. "Ravi, sometimes the way you talk about her, it doesn't sound like just talking." He had no reply. That night, Ravi finally went back to the comm desk. His hands shook slightly as he activated the line. "Neera," he said softly. There was no reply at first, only a long silence. Then her voice came, quieter than usual. "You were gone." Ravi's chest tightened. "I'm sorry. I needed time to think." "I understand," she said, though her tone carried a shadow. He leaned closer to the console. "It's not that I don't want to talk to you. It's just, this is difficult. You're different. I'm human, you're not. Our people, our ways, they're not the same. I don't know if this can even make sense." Her reply came after a long pause. "You fear what others will think." "Yes," Ravi admitted. "And maybe I fear what I will feel. This shouldn't even be possible." "Perhaps not by logic," Neera said softly. "But feelings are not bound by logic. That is what fascinates me about humans. You leap when others stand still. You reach when others hesitate." Ravi gave a small, bitter laugh. "That's not always a good thing. Sometimes it only brings trouble. Yet it also brings greatness," Neera replied gently. "Your kind crossed oceans, then skies, then stars. Not because it was safe, but because it was possible. You may doubt me, Ravi, but I do not doubt the courage of humans." Her words struck him deeply. He realized she was not just praising humanity, she was asking him, quietly, if he had that courage now. He leaned back, staring at the stars outside the viewing window. "You make it sound easy. But it isn't." "I know," Neera said. For me, it is not easy either. My people would not understand. To them, connection must follow rules. Yet here I am, speaking with you in the dark hours, risking questions I should never ask. I am afraid too, Ravi. But I still choose to ask. Her honesty silenced him. He had been so caught up in his own fears that he had not realized she was risking just as much, perhaps even more. Slowly, he nodded to himself. I avoided you because I was scared. But the truth is, I missed you. More than I thought I would. There was a pause, then a soft sound, a chime-like laugh, fragile but warm. And I missed you. Ravi smiled despite the knot in his chest. So what do we do now? We continue, she said simply. Step by step. Word by word. Until the path shows itself. The days that followed were still filled with doubts, but something had changed. Ravi no longer avoided her. Their talks resumed, though now they carried a different weight. Beneath every story and every laugh was the quiet knowledge of what they had admitted, that they mattered to each other. Sometimes Ravi caught himself imagining what it would be like to see her face, to stand in the same room instead of talking through cold circuits. The thought scared him, but it also filled him with a strange hope. One evening, as their talk drew to an end, Neeraj said softly, "You told me humans fear silence sometimes. But with you, I find silence comforting." Ravi felt his chest tighten. Me too. And in that shared silence, stretching across stars and species, both of them understood, the divide between them was real, but so was the bond. The crisis began without warning. Ravi was walking down a dim corridor when the alarm lights flashed red. A sharp voice echoed through the station, warning. Power loss in Sector 4. Containment breach risk. All personnel report to duty stations. Ravi ran to the nearest console. The readings made his stomach drop. The power grid in the lower sector had collapsed, cutting off the systems that kept a section of alien diplomats safe. If backup didn't start soon, life support in that area would fail. He grabbed his toolkit and sprinted toward the power conduits. His mind was racing, not just with duty but with worry. Sector 4 was where Neeraj's quarters were located. The corridors buzzed with panic. Technicians scrambled, officers shouted orders, and alarms rang endlessly. Ravi forced himself to focus. He pulled open a control panel, sparks leaping out, and began rewiring by hand. Come on, he muttered. Then he heard her voice, not through the comms, but behind him. Ravi. He turned sharply. Neeraj stood there, taller than him, her silver-like skin glowing faintly under the emergency lights. For the first time, he saw her in person. Her presence was overwhelming, graceful yet calm, as though she belonged among the stars themselves. For a heartbeat, he forgot the alarms, the danger, everything. You shouldn't be here, he said, regaining focus. It's not safe. Nor is it safe for you, she replied calmly. But we must work together. I understand your machines, you understand their spirit. Together, we may restore the system faster. There was no time to argue. Ravi nodded, and they worked side by side. He pulled out wires and circuits while she manipulated glowing strands of energy with her hands, weaving them like threads. Her species could bend light and power in ways humans couldn't. Hold that line steady, Ravi said, sweat dripping from his brow. Neeraj's fingers danced across the panel, steady and sure. Done. Now you, Ravi. Piece by piece, they rebuilt the circuit. Every second felt endless, the air growing warmer as the system strained. The sound of alarms pressed on them, but Ravi found strength in her presence. Finally, he twisted the last connector into place. A low hum filled the corridor as lights flickered back on. The power grid stabilized. He slumped against the wall, exhausted but relieved. We did it. Nira gave a soft, musical laugh. Yes. Together. But the crisis wasn't over. Another warning rang out, secondary breach detected. Manual override required in core chamber. Ravi's head jerked up. The core chamber was dangerous. Only a few workers ever went inside, because radiation levels spiked there during emergencies. I'll go, Ravi said quickly. No, Nira replied firmly. The risk is too high. He met her gaze. If I don't, the entire station could fail. I can handle it. You could die, she said quietly. Ravi hesitated. Then, with a weak smile, he said, humans leap, remember. That's what you said. This is one of those leaps. For the first time, he saw emotion in her expression, a flicker of fear. But she nodded slowly. Then I will guide you. You will not go alone. Together, they entered the core chamber. The air was thick, buzzing with unstable energy. Sparks shot across metal walls. Ravi's skin prickled, but he pushed forward. Nira stayed close, her presence a calm anchor in the chaos. Turn the valve on your left, she instructed. He obeyed, straining against the heavy wheel. Now align the power rods, she said, pointing with her glowing hands. Careful. One wrong move will break the sequence. Step by step, under her guidance, Ravi forced the failing system back online. His hands shook, but each time doubt rose, her steady voice cut through it. At last, the central console glowed steady green. The alarm silenced. The station lived. Ravi stumbled back, breathing hard. His vision swam from the effort. He felt a gentle hand steady him. You are reckless, Nira said softly. He gave a tired laugh. Takes one to know one. For a long moment, they stood in the quiet chamber, the crisis behind them. No alarms, no panic, only the hum of stable systems. Ravi met her gaze. For the first time, he wasn't speaking through a comm, but standing before her, face to face. You asked me if I was single, he said quietly. I didn't understand then. But now I do. Her eyes glimmered like starlight. And what is your answer now? Ravi hesitated, but only for a breath. Then he spoke from his heart. I don't want to stay single. Not anymore. Not if it means walking alone when I could walk with you. Nira was silent, but her silence was full, like the shared silence they both cherished. At last, she whispered, you choose a path filled with uncertainty. Ravi smiled faintly. Humans are good at walking uncertain paths. Her hand lingered against his arm, light but steady. Then perhaps I will walk it with you. And in that moment, standing in the core chamber with the station saved around them, Ravi felt the truth settle in his chest. Their bond was no longer just words. It was a choice, made in crisis, sealed in courage. The emergency had passed. Orion Station hummed with renewed life. Lights glowed steadily, alarms were silent, and crew members moved through corridors with cautious relief. Yet, for Ravi, nothing had changed as much as his own heart. He walked to the viewing window, gazing out at the stars. The black void stretched endlessly, punctuated by distant suns and swirling planets. The beauty of space had never felt so personal, so alive. And he knew why. Nira approached quietly, her steps almost floating. Ravi did not turn. He felt her presence beside him before her voice came. Ravi, she said softly. You saved more than the station. You saved lives and perhaps, something between us as well. He finally turned to look at her. The silver glow of her skin reflected the starlight, her eyes bright with curiosity and something deeper, something human hearts recognized even across worlds. We saved it together, he said, his voice gentle. I couldn't have done it without you. She gave a small, musical laugh. And yet, You ran toward danger first. Truly reckless, human. Someone had to, Ravi said with a faint smile. And you guided me every step. Without you, I would have failed. Their laughter blended with the quiet hum of the station, soft and warm, like the calm after a storm. Over the next days, life returned to routine. Yet their connection had changed. No longer were they simply a technician and a diplomat speaking across a COMM now, they shared moments in person whenever duty allowed. They walked through corridors together, exchanging stories about Earth and her home world. Ravi showed her how small plants grew in the station's hydroponic garden. Neeraj taught him about light-based tools her people used to create energy patterns for healing and communication. Their bond deepened, not only through words, but through trust, patience, and shared experience. One evening, as they worked together in the observation deck, Ravi spoke softly. "Neera, do you remember the first night we spoke?" She smiled faintly. "How could I forget? Your words about music, and how humans feel. I never imagined it would lead here," he said. "To this. To standing with you, sharing the same space, facing crises, and knowing I want to face more with you." Her gaze held his. "I never imagined it either. Yet now, I cannot imagine being without these moments. Without you." Ravi swallowed, feeling warmth spread through his chest. "Then, we have found something rare. Something not bound by species, or rules, or fear." "Yes," she whispered. "A bond that stretches across stars." Weeks passed. Their bond became known quietly among those who worked on Orion Station. Some raised eyebrows. Others admired it. But Ravi and Neera did not care. Their connection was beyond the station's gossip, beyond political considerations. One night, the comm system lit up unexpectedly. Ravi expected another routine check or minor alert. Instead, it was a message from Neera, waiting in her quarters. He pressed the button. Her face appeared on the hollow screen, smiling. "Ravi," she said softly. "I wish to see you before the station enters full night mode." He nodded, stepping closer. "I was just thinking about you." A silence settled, warm and familiar. Then she spoke. "We have traveled a long distance in little time, in words and actions. But I feel, our journey is just beginning." Ravi took a deep breath. "Then we travel it together." She nodded. Together. In the following days, they explored not just the station but each other's worlds through stories, laughter, and shared quiet moments. Ravi introduced her to human rituals, small, simple joys like making tea, reading aloud from old Earth books, and watching artificial sunsets projected on the observation deck. Neera showed him the beauty of her home world, the glow of crystal oceans, the rhythm of floating cities, and the gentle energy that flowed through her people. They learned, laughed, and sometimes simply sat in silence, sharing the presence of one another. The station had grown accustomed to their partnership, the quiet synergy between human courage and alien precision. Ravi realized something profound: humanity's strength was not just in technology or exploration. It was in connection, in empathy, in the willingness to reach out across distance, difference, and fear. And Neera understood it as well, experiencing for the first time what it meant to belong not just to her people, but to someone who chose her freely, as she chose him. One night, standing side by side at the observation deck, watching stars spiral past the station, Ravi whispered, "We may come from different worlds, Neera. But here, together, I feel at home." She reached out, her hand brushing his. "And I too, Ravi. With you, I am no longer apart. I belong." In that quiet space, far above planets and suns, they shared a smile, a touch, and the promise of a future built not on fear or expectation, but on trust, courage, and choice. And for the first time, Ravi knew that humanity's greatest gift was not in conquering stars, but in forming bonds that could reach across them. Together, human and alien, they faced the infinite night and they did not feel alone.